conversation, and two, we're going to see something about GIS at the end of after the conversation. And I'll start the conversation, and what I'll do is read what it says in the town charter. I put this in the email I sent out. It says, the Board of Selectmen shall, at least once a calendar year, call a general meeting of the chairpersons of all town boards, agencies, commissions, and town elected and appointed officials. The purpose of this meeting shall be to coordinate the activities of all town officers, boards, agencies, and commissions. So, that's our purpose. And then I did a little thinking about this, and this is what I wrote down. I believe communications is a primary factor in the health and growth of any community. Tonight we'll have a conversation. Our goal is to have a positive, constructive conversation and coordinate our activities and put the town of East Windsor in a better place because we had the conversation. Tonight we want to exchange information in a positive manner. We want to listen to what each other says, we want to ask questions and exchange thoughts. So, I'll start, and then anybody after I get through can say, kind of raise your hand. So, say whatever you want. And I want to hear what you have to say, and I think we all do. And what I'll start with is just what I started with in January. I wrote down my initiatives. This is what I thought I would be trying to do this year. And one thing was to empower the residents of East Windsor. And under that I put improved communication. Another thing is to reduce taxes. And to do that, I would say increase the grant list, increase efficiency, and look for grants. Prepare for the 250th anniversary. Reduce opioid use. Reduce the dirt bike and ATV use in the gravel pits. Work with Public Works to improve roads. Work with Public Works to fix the Broadbrook Dam. Work with Public Works and stakeholders to replace the middle school roof. Work toward equitable funding of fire department, resolve the Broadbrook Mill site, improve Pond Street situation, reduce blight, and explore the future of the two-story part of the annex in Warehouse Point. So that's kind of what I thought about in January as things I might like to approach. So now I'll say, does anybody have anything they want to say about anything? And you gotta. I have to have a volunteer to start. Otherwise, go ahead, Paul.
Volunteer. I like volunteering. All right, Paul Anderson, Chairman of the Water Pollution Control Authority. Here's our goals and objectives and some of our things we have done. So this past fiscal year, the WPCA expended considerable time, effort, and funds on the rebuilding of 2 sewage pump stations. The Industrial Park Station on Craftsman Road received a new 200-amp electrical service, and I apologize for any technical detail that's not going to work for you. New control wiring and floats with a new electrical panel to house the controls and SCADA, which is our control systems. A new 50-kilowatt generator and transfer switch was installed along with new fencing. That was done because that station is off in the woods. And we considered removing it and doing something different with sewers, but it turned out to be too costly. The Mill Pond Station also received a new 100-amp electrical service, all new control wiring and floats, along with the new SCADA panel. Eversource installed a new natural gas supply line to feed our new 30-kilowatt generator, which previously ran on propane. It is expected that these upgrades will serve the sewer users well over the next 30 years. The Industrial Park and Mill Pond stations both received new pumps and valves previously. We have now upgraded or replaced all of our sewage pump stations. All remote pump stations now have remote communication through SCADA and to the on-call operator in the event of emergency. We were able to begin replacing the components in our area control panels. These ACPs were put in during the plant upgrade in the mid-90s. We recognized the need to begin focusing on this when we discovered that the technology had evolved to the point that our existing Siemens Cymax modules were not able to be supported locally or easily programmed to today's PLCs. Our systems run micrologic PLCs along with analog and input and output modules. We began the replacement of our ACP number 4, which controls our chlorine disinfection, which operates seasonally. This allowed for work on it during the off-season. We were so successful, we began work on ACP 31 with the savings to be incurred from the above projects. We also replaced the GBT building roof this year. This has resulted in 5 of our 6 buildings receiving new roofs in the past 5 years. We will be upgrading the Scout Hall pump station on Abbey Road shortly. Looking forward to the 2017-2018 fiscal year, plans are to replace the roof on the admin building, rework the 2 remaining ACP panels along with the associated PLCs, relays, control modules, and programming. This will result in our SCADA architecture being upgraded to industry standard. We've been able to do this while holding our user rate to less than a 1% increase for 2017-18. If anybody wants to come visit us and find out how we pulled all this magic off, we'd be happy to cooperate.
Okay.
So, maybe we have to pass her back.
Yes, you don't have to raise your hand.
You were bringing up communications, and I live in a different town, and I found out today that there was a budget vote last night, and I thought, how would I find out about this? Because I'm not ever in town, I don't get the paper, and I'm not somebody who reads through my emails and things like that. And I was thinking, what about doing some sort of like a community alert system where, I mean, I know with the emergency management, they'll send out a text saying, you know, we're opening up a shelter or something like that, but some sort of system like that where you have to sign up and then you get automatic texts with anything that, community happenings. And I didn't know whether that was something that was even possible.
Gail might want to.
Well, they also, I remember having sandwich boards that were at, in front of the town hall here, in front of the police department, and they would put on a budget meeting tonight, or car taxes are due, or something like that. I think that would be another way of at least somehow or another just getting the word out, if that's not possible.
Right, obviously not everybody has a phone or even a phone that has text ability, but most people do in this day and age, and it might be some method of getting information out.
It's a good idea, both our ideas. And I think I've had a lot of people say they didn't know about the budget meeting, our budget referendum yesterday, and yesterday, the day before, Tuesday. And what I thought was, I think in the past, a lot of organizations like the Republican Town Committee have put around sandwich boards too. So a lot of people were publicizing the vote. There weren't so many people doing that. The town, as you said, there was sandwich boards, they would do it, but town hasn't taken made a lot of effort to publicize it. So I think one thing I think we'll do is get signs and put them around. I was going to look into that for the next budget meeting, but and also when we put out public notices on the website, if a person wishes to get an email, we can do that, and that's part of what we do. But that's good. We want to work on communications. And another thing I'll say, can you talk about the school system and whatever?
Can I join in on the communication thing first?
Okay.
As someone who has spent nights painting signs, nights putting signs out, more nights picking signs up, I'm just tired. And it doesn't really get me what I want, so I've stopped doing it. So that's part of, I guess, why maybe there aren't so many signs out there. Some of the suggestions I would have would be perhaps creating an event on the town Facebook page, which
Yeah.
would be something that would then go into people's calendars and be sort of a reminder, not just something that they see, but if they accept it, it would then remind them when it's coming up.
Okay.
And I did not get, I know the public notices, I usually get those. I don't think I got one about this vote, so maybe that was just
I don't
an
know.
omission this time. But of the public notice listing, I don't believe a notice went out for this particular vote.
Where would that notice come from?
It-
Public notice one, I think it comes from Bob's office.
Yeah, well, and I think when, I'm not sure, it's public notices I are put on my office and also, I think, the town clerk. When a public notice is put on, go ahead.
The public notice is put in the newspaper by me, and then I put it up on the legal ads in on the website, and then it's on my town clerk page.
I guess I was referring to the email blast that goes
Oh,
out
okay.
sometimes with town notices.
Right.
That's the notice I was
I thought
referring to.
Amanda did that, but maybe.
I don't know who does it, I just know periodically I get some stuff. Right.
No, I thought she did it this time, I thought I got one.
Maybe I missed it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't think so.
but yeah, we can make sure that goes out too. to
I just thought the Facebook thing at least is something that people can acknowledge when they
That's a
see
good
it,
idea,
and
yeah.
then it comes back as a reminder for them.
Well, and I was going to say, talk about schools, but the reason I was saying it is, we're going to change the whole look of our website within the next couple months. And so it's going to have a different look to it, and it's going to have a lot more capabilities. The software that it was built on, and the company that does it is called VTS, Virtual Towns and Schools. Very good company. They do well holding our data, but their software they built it on, content management system, is at least 15 years old. And you can imagine in IT things move so quickly. They have a new content management system, so some of their websites are built with the old, and now the new is available. So they're going to build us the new website, and it had a lot more capability. And if anybody here wants to help us build that website in the sense of reviewing it, trying it and giving us feedback, that would be great. And I think one thing that you said, in my office, I've been trying to get those public notices. I don't get them. So I think the new website will help that. I think it'll make things much easier to use and much more clear. Well, and what I wanted to say too is, one thing we've done, and I talked to Teresa Kane, and I don't know if you're aware of it, Kathy, but I asked if we could have some students be involved with this website design and redoing. And so today I got 2 students, and I'm going to call them up, and they're going to help us. So I figured get some young eyes looking at this website. And like one thing that I guess people use a lot, I use a cell phone, but not very much, is to do searches. And if you have a website where you do a search, and our search is not good, and again, it goes back to the software it's built on, but now they have searches that if you wanted to look at hours that the town hall's open, you just put in hours and bang, it'll come up, or holidays, bang, it'll come up. They really use the website. So we're going to have some students involved, and the people who are doing this website, that's their job, is to build websites. So I think it'll help the students a lot too, to see that, to be involved in a redesign of a website. So we're working on that. But communication's big, so anything we can do.
Just one thing,
Go ahead, Barb.
please don't disenfranchise the people who don't use computers, who aren't on Facebook. There's an awful lot. There was a sign out here that said, yard work, trash pickup, visit our website.
Yeah.
Okay, some people just don't use it, so we need to hit that segment of the population as well.
Maybe the sandwich boards are something. Rand?
You're probably going to get sick of hearing me bring this topic up. I know Lori's probably sick of hearing me bring this topic up. But between my wife and I, we have provided all of the information necessary for the town to make a determination on all aspects in regards to putting 2 digital signs up in this town that can easily be manipulated and programmed from any computer and can provide a high number of individuals throughout the course of the month and the year with any amount of information we'd like the general public to have. Everything from basketball games, everything to votes, everything to budget hearings, everything to planning and zoning commission meetings, to police commission meetings, all of it can be right there. And it's, I think once we got something like that out, people would come to rely on it. This happens in communities all over this country, and it seems to be a very cost-effective way to provide daily updates to what takes place throughout our communities.
I think,
To add on to that, the school is trying to put up a digital sign in front of the high school. We would not be able to announce a vote legally. We are not even allowed to say there is a vote on this day. So we would be unable to do that. But certainly, school events, certainly other town events that are not
Schools are closed, or paving's coming up, or
basketball games.
sewer work out on
Yeah.
Melrose Road.
But the understanding is that
Bridge
there's
dedication.
no, there's no zoning for electronic signs in this town. And so that has to change before we can do that. We were unable to get a variance from ZBA to do that, so they sent us back to planning and zoning to work with them and the board of selectmen on changing the rules. So that's something that needs to be done in order to be able to allow us, both the town and the schools, to utilize something like that, which I think does. As you say, you can change it from anywhere, you can put a ton of information out there, you can change it daily, you can change it hourly, you can change it every couple of minutes if you want.
I do think that as we progress in this quote-unquote digital world, we are all becoming content overloaded. Our faces are in our phones, on our computer screens, in Facebook, Twitter, all of it inundates us on a daily basis. And I think sometimes we look at those screens and that's all we're doing is looking. We're not necessarily absorbing.
It's a slippery slope though with those electronic signs, so I certainly understand and appreciate the intent of broadcasting appropriate information at the appropriate times, but they could be a nuisance to the driving public. They would have to be strategically located where they wouldn't interfere with the driving task. You don't want it on top of the road, but at the same time, you don't want it 400 feet back where your eyes are off the road in front of you looking at this digital sign. You see flashing red, blue, whatever colors are out there. So there has to be some sort of, has to be properly managed.
I do agree, Joe.
The Planning and Zoning Commission and planning staff fully acknowledge that we need to update our regulations for signage, and that's been at the top of our list in the past, well, since the comp plan was done, but there's also some other things that are at the top of the list, so it's kind of, we're trying to do a balancing act. I just went to a conference and got a lot of data on how to regulate signs based on some federal law that came down. And so this is across the nation, and everybody really needs to change their sign regulations because it must now be content neutral. So it doesn't matter whether you're a municipality, a business, a resident, or anything. You can't regulate differently for different organizations. So that's been part of our issue. And so I just got some good information on how to hopefully do that. So we will be working towards that. And I also got regulations on lighting of LED signs, and you know, some of them could be very bright, so you really need to regulate the brightness and how often the content changes, and things of that nature.
No, totally.
So it's not that we're against it, it's just we haven't gotten to it.
Joe?
I guess something a little different is about the coordination communication thing that affects all the town citizens, town employees, Board of Ed. It's something that recently came up this week at the Planning and Zoning agenda, was regarding additional parking on site for the school and or employees and or our citizens visiting town hall for public businesses and visitors for that matter. We took action, we made a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen that they they approved this plan, but one thing that the board talked about was it's a temporary solution. There really is a shortage of parking out here. And the point of bringing this up is I challenge each and every one of you to we should all work together and come up with a common solution, how to find some long-term parking. About 10, 15 years ago, there was a plan floated in the Plan of Conservation and Development of a concept of closing Rye Street in front of the school. You know, that has some serious implications on traffic patterns, routing trucks, emergency access, the list goes on and on. But it also has some benefits. The benefits include some additional parking where the pavement is. It gets rid of the pedestrian conflict, employees and students and teachers walking across the school to the parking areas. So the planning and zoning acknowledged that we need some help, and we'd like to work with Public Works, Board of Ed, and all the other boards to try to come up with a mutually, something that works for everybody within a budget.
I know John Burnham made a piece of land behind, was it number 2 Rye Street? And I believe Jay and crew did some work to come up with a feasible plan to actually make that a parking lot. At the time, the town wasn't interested in pursuing it. I don't know if the land is still available, if John still has it, if he's still willing to sell it, or if there's...
That parcel, that particular parcel, I just noticed it up for sale, and now it's called 0 Rye Street. So that parcel is up for sale. It is on the market.
Where the house is or behind the house?
No, the parcel adjacent to the house.
Yeah.
This side of the house, which actually abuts the Board of Ed.
So that would be a great place to extend parking, I would think. But
Maybe worth taking a look at.
that's, again, that's something, the town owns those buildings and the town owns the parking. So while we can ask to have it looked at, we can't, as Board of Ed, we can't do it.
Right.
I know Lenny is intending to build parking around here. I'm not saying it's a solution. You're
That'll help.
right, it's temporary. but-
Right, won't fix everything, but it'll
Well,
help.
that's what
Yeah.
Joel's talking about.
Yeah, how many parking places were you
He's
gonna
saying like 30, well, now I think it's 34.
add 34 more to this area? But it isn't a solution, that's a
It's
temporary.
kicking the can down the road.
Yeah,
It helps with the everyday, it does not help with really events. That's,
Well, I think you'll find that this parcel, not only does it abut the school, it also abuts the dog pound. So that being said, where the town has that right away, it may be possible to take some of the traffic from, let's just, for the sake of exploration, let's just say the town would move forward and turn that into a parking lot. It could make it easy to get back down onto Mill Street as well. It could be some easier routes and access and relieve some of the congestion here along the Rye Street area.
It's certainly worth looking at. I don't know where any funding would come from, but we could take a look at it from just a reality perspective. I do know that there's some.
yeah, you gotta
there's
know whether
escarpment
it's
slopes and some
feasible
wetlands.
first, yeah.
And, you know, there may be a separation by environmentally between the two, but I mean, you could certainly expand upon the dog pound as well, so certainly worth looking at, again, if there's a possibility.
Well, based on just the age of the dog pound itself, at a particular point in time, that structure will certainly have far outlived its use. So that's been another ongoing issue for the community for a number of years that we've sought remedy to and haven't been able to find anything viable regarding any shared services.
Did Windsor Locks just build a brand new dog pound? Who is it that just built a
They
brand new?
did, yes.
Something to think about, I guess, then.
We've already approached them once, I believe, Dale.
That was Summers.
Last
I
time when
believe
it was
it was,
referendum, it was,
No, we
we're
approached
voting
all
with Summers when
It
it
was
was.
the town, the town meeting considered doing a shared service with Summers a few years back, and it resoundingly
Yeah,
failed
it
due
got
to
dumped
the
big
not in my
time.
backyard philosophy.
Yeah.
But that, at that point in time, the shared service concept was to have Summers and East Windsor cohabitate in East Windsor. Since then, Summers has built a new one, so we could try and flip it. There was a deal in place last time that they would bring their dogs here, maybe we could suggest to them that we'd be open to the same concept in Summers.
I can remember right after the completion of the Windsor Locks facility. It was Denise's first term, early in her first term, and she asked me to go over and get a look at it and just bring her back an evaluation. And I do believe that she had communication with the current administration over in Windsor Locks too, about the possibility of a shared service.
Well, maybe that's something Bob needs to do with Kerbick, because they've had change of people at the helm in Windsor Locks, and
Yeah.
so maybe,
Yeah, I can.
but I'd also, has Lisa Pellegrini left Summers yet?
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so, but I'd still reach out for someone in Summers as well.
I think that's Bud,
But,
Bud North,
Yeah, that's it.
who was appointed.
Yep.
Okay, somebody, another, I haven't heard anything about conservation and agriculture. How's that? Things are growing or?
Well, I can throw in 2 cents on that. Connecticut has some of the best farmland in the world, according to a lot of sources, and East Windsor has some of the best farmland in Connecticut. So the Agriculture Commission and the Conservation Commission are trying to promote keeping our rural base in place. Our most recent effort is to poll some of the larger farmland owners in town and see what their vision for their future of their property is. And we've got quite a good response this time, unlike the last time we did that was 10 years ago or so. Got very little response. But quite a few people replying that they would like to continue farming or renting to a farmer in town. So looks like by and large the farming community wants to stay in place. So we try to explore all the ways that we can help with that.
Okay.
The community garden is
We
started
had
up.
someone come in today and asked for a plot in the community.
Yep, I talked to a couple of people today that were putting in gardens there. We're happy with the concept, so that keeps agriculture and vegetables and everything on people's minds, which is good. We have a farmer's coffee event in the springtime before the farming season gets going to try to disseminate literature on programs and things that are available to farmers for information and aid. And we try to do what we can to promote the farmers market in town too. And conservation, we're working to try to use our open space fund and then maybe try to replenish that with bonding for open space would be our eventual suggestion to preserve open space and farmland through easements, conservation and agricultural easements.
I want to hear about the schools. One thing I just learned about
Give me
the,
a few, what is it you're curious about?
well, no, I just in general, but what I have to have said, a week or two ago, I guess U.S. News and World Reports reported that the high school was ranked the 29th best school in Connecticut. And there's, I guess, 288 high schools and 140 districts, so that's
More than
pretty,
that.
yeah.
There were over 2,000 high schools.
Well, I meant just in Connecticut.
In Connecticut. We are in the top, we are at the top 10% nationally, Mark. There were 22,000, or 29, I forget, 22,000, I think, give or take, nationally, that were rated. So basically, they rated every high school, and every eligible high school in the country, public high school in the country. And you were only not eligible if you had less than 12 students at the grade levels. So obviously the vast majority of high schools were graded and rated. And we received a silver medal. They do gold, silver, bronze medals, and of course those that don't receive a medal at all. And a lot of it has to do with the rating that they're using is not strictly a an absolute test score rating. So they look at your population as well and determine whether, how you are succeeding in terms of your population. We know that when you have economically challenged and and kids with learning disabilities and minority kids, kids who are economically disadvantaged, all of those kids kind of start with a little bit more road to travel. So this looks at towns and compares where you are in comparison with other towns with the same kind of socioeconomic background and makeup. And we obviously are doing a great job of moving all of our kids forward, not just those kids who come from advantaged households who are kind of wired to do well in school. And that's really the crux of the US News. It looked at things like how many kids take and pass AP exams for college credit, how we move kids forward that are economically and disadvantaged and minorities, and a few other things as well. So it looks at things a little bit different. What's nice is it's not built on a survey per se. It's based on factual data that all schools report. So it's very unbiased and separate. It's not like, you know, you can get a lot of surveys, but it's based on how people happen to respond. You can load those any way you want. People who are unhappy can speak loudly, and people who are happy can speak loudly, and it's not necessarily an unbiased opinion. So we're very pleased, we're very proud. The school's been working hard to get to that point. Obviously, we've had a lot of improvements, the building improvements at Broadbrook. We're going to be working on the middle school roof. I just found out last night we have been approved. We will be approved by the state, I think, for the middle school roof. There were two things. There were the Alliance projects. I believe we've gotten approval for round 2 of the Alliance projects, and I believe the approval on the middle school roof is coming next week.
It's done. You've been approved.
It's done? Okay. I know there was some holdup over disability or handicap accessibility issues, but my understanding is that that's been cleared away. So obviously we're doing enhancements to physical plant. We've been working very hard on curriculum and aligning curriculum from pre-K all the way up to grade 12 such that the kids are really progressing through a straight line and not coming backwards or having gaps when they, you know, switch grades. And I think all of that is paying off. The staff is working really hard. So there's obviously lots more to do. There is always more to do in education. So we will continue to work hard and continue to try to improve. But we really are seeing significant gains for the work that we've done in the last 5 to 10 years.
Could you, how can the community help? In a sense, maybe we are helping, but
Part of it is staff. We've changed the way we utilize our money, and we've put as much money as possible that we have into putting the right people in front of the kids. We've added things through grants and other programs. We've added a school health office in I think we have one now in the Broadbrook building and in the high school. And that allows kids to go in and get a physical. We don't have a pediatrician here in the town of East Windsor. So this allows kids to go in and get a sports physical, to be able to participate in sports. If they got a sore throat, they can go in and see this. They accept insurance. They don't require a penny if you don't have insurance. And it's not funded through the town. It's not funded through the school. It's funded outside of that. So it's not costing us money except for a room or two in the facilities where they house themselves. We've put a lot of work into behavioral staff, people who are working to get kids who are, in fact, we just talked last night, there's a term called ACE. I'm going to get this wrong, so I don't have my papers with me, but it's basically a child who's experienced an ACE is someone who's had a trauma, a major trauma in their home where they're growing up. Maybe they have a parent who's got an alcohol or drug problem, maybe there's been a divorce, maybe there's been some criminal activity, somebody's been incarcerated, somebody has a major health problem, a death of immediate family member. All of these things impact kids in very tough ways and make it difficult for them to learn. We have kids who come to school hungry. You can't learn very well when you're just hungry. So the breakfast programs have been put in, and they're self-funding. And so that's helping with those kinds of things. The health centers are helping. We're looking at we're working with Kristen and with Melissa to work on a youth service bureau. We've been working very hard on attendance and truancy and reaching out to families, trying to identify and catch kids before they fall into the I really need help. You know, if we see a pattern in attendance, does this kid also have a problem with grades? Or if they're having a problem with grades, is there something else that leads us to believe that we need to intervene at the household level? There's calls that go out to families to try to catch kids before they fall to the place where they need extra tutoring and they need extra help. So all of these things are pieces that we've put into place, and they all catch some kids, but not all kids. So the more of those that we can have in place to help kids do what they need to do and learn what they need to learn, the better we'll do.
Okay, I would ask something from Melissa, but she disappeared. I think we're going to wrap up pretty soon because we're going to do the GIS presentation. So if anybody feels that there's something that, yeah, Jim.
So I'm chairman of the Veterans Commission, so I want to talk about the Veterans Commission for a few minutes. And the normal things that we do, some of the things we're involved in right now, this month is providing 2 scholarships for high school seniors. Each one of those is $750. Our members of our commission will be placing flags on veterans' graves this month, and that's about 1,000 graves that we go out and put flags on. And then at the end of the month, obviously, we're going to have our Memorial Day parade and celebration on the town green. And of course, we'll be having our road race in November, which is actually on Veterans Day this year. So the Veterans Day road race, and we're trying to make that even bigger than it has been. So we hope to do that. The big thing that we're doing right now, obviously, is the Veterans Memorial Green on the town green in Warehouse Point. So we really started thinking about that probably 2 or 3 years ago. It takes a lot of thinking, you know, before you really decide that you want to go on this road to try to raise this kind of money and do this kind of project. So we thought about it for a long time, and we finally pulled the trigger, and we've actually been raising money for just over a year. So we have probably about $38,000. And we still need a lot more. We're doing all kinds of events. What we can think of, you know, we're sitting at Geisler's, we're doing dances, we're doing, we hope to, well, with Melissa's help, we hope to do some summer concerts this year. She and I have been talking about doing 4 summer concerts, 2 in July and 2 in August. And probably at the Trolley Museum, though, instead of the green. I kind of like to do it on the green. So the green, a lot of site work has been done by Public Works Department. It looks very good down there. We're moving ahead with this project. I actually ordered the monuments the other day. So those take about 4 months to get. And we intend to build this year and dedicate it next year. So that's our goal. And we still need to do a lot more work, a lot more fundraising. This month, Saturday, we'll be selling hot dogs at Geysers. Unfortunately, the weather is not going to cooperate, but Geysers has offered us their hot dog stand for their sidewalk sale. I think now the sidewalk sale is going inside, so we'll still be outside with the hot dogs in the rain. But, so that's a fundraiser for ours. On the 20th, which is Armed Forces Day, Leslie at Joe's Fine Wine and Liquors is having one of his parking lot things with his 10th anniversary thing, and he's going to have a band. The Savage Brothers are going to be there, and proceeds from that are going to our project. So we are working on all that. We also actually have a website now. That needs a lot more content and things to get all our forms on there. We have our, we have the forms to order pavers. We have forms to order bricks for the cemetery. And I'd like to raise a lot more money to help out our cemetery. The grass there needs help. So we'd like to raise some more money. But so we're going to be putting all our forms and information and things on the website. Another fundraiser that we have going on right now is a raffle by the American Legion. And the prizes are a 42-inch Craftsman lawn tractor, a 50-inch smart TV, 100 gallons of fuel oil, $200 at Big Y, and $100 at Walmart. The drawing is June 1st, which I believe is 3 weeks from now. Tickets. Tickets are $1. I have tickets with me, and I can get a lot more. So if you all are interested in, and they're all going to come.
Yes, I know. It's a joke.
That's
And I've been buying a lot of their
joke.
tickets, so it's an inside.
So if you'd like to help support us, you can do that by buying raffle tickets, or you can. I have these brochures. The brochures are out here. I have plenty of these brochures. The brochures include a donor form. If you just want to send in a donation, each one of these also includes a paver order form. If you want to buy one of the engraved pavers, that's $35, and that's the pavers that are going to go on the site. They can be engraved in memory of a deceased. Doesn't have to be a veteran. Can be a family member. Can be yourself. Can be a supporter. Can be whatever. So that's another one of our fundraisers, and we appreciate all the help we can get. So thank you. Did I say the website is eastwindsorveterans.org?
Good. Memorable, easy.
Okay, is there anybody else want to, yeah,
I'd
correct.
like to add just real quick, as the Historic Preservation Commission in town here, we're really looking to get more support, as everybody is, I know. Our big move we made this year, we actually don't have our meetings here at Town Hall anymore. We have them over at the Historical Society, which actually sparked some more interest. We're getting some, slowly but surely, some steady interest in the preservation of East Windsor in general. And there's, as everybody knows in this room, there's a ton of stuff out here that could really use the help. So as a small group, like everybody's been touching on in this whole conversation, is we're trying to get more digital. So we're trying to link everything through the town website, and we have our links to our own little things, and we added on. And with that said, the town hall in general has been great. I mean, hands down, everything we've ever needed, from your office, Bob, right across the board, anything we've ever needed, Joanne. I don't want to miss anybody, but They've just been standout, totally supportive, and we needed little things, and, you know, Amanda with the computer whiz and Jennifer, I mean, just, it's been nothing but great, so that's what I like to add.
Thank you. Okay, anything further? I hate to, I have to say, Linda, Park Hill, I can't neglect Park Hill, because I know you're doing a lot of construction, and so things are going well, I guess.
Yeah, we're so fortunate to recently, awarded this Small Cities grant, and we're upgrading all the fire alarm systems with that money, and also included in that grant money, we're making all 3 laundry rooms handicap accessible, and that'll enable the residents to get in and out more easily, particularly with their laundries, baskets, and walkers, wheelchairs, and the doors will be automatically automated so that you can get in and out. We're also getting a new generator. We're replacing the generator, and we're giving the old generator to Public Works. I spoke to Wendy about that. And it should be ready for pickup shortly. And we also are eligible for a grant called Critical Needs. And we were eligible to replace the sidewalks. The existing sidewalks are the original. They're asphalt, they're very cracked, they're very warped. And we've had people actually fall and trip. So the sidewalks are now going to be replaced with concrete, which is very nice. And there'll also be more cutouts for people to be able to easily get to their cars and across the street as well. So we're very excited about what's going on at Park Hill.
Your water system?
Oh, yes, we have a well system, and we recently upgraded the system itself. We now have 2 new tanks for the whole holding tanks, and we have an entirely new panel, which is specific to the system, and it also will enable, there'll be a signal that will go directly to a staff person, and of course the contractor that we have an agreement with for the repairs and maintenance. So if the system goes down, there'll be a signal that shoots off that says, oh, there's a trouble, get over here right away. So that's fantastic. We actually did not have a grant for that, but it was a worthwhile expense for sure. Because we were having some issues with finding parts, and as the system did break down, which was becoming more frequent, it was a little bit more of a challenge to make the repairs. So it was definitely time to do some upgrades. Thank you, Deb.
Okay, who's going to tell us about GIS? Why don't we turn down the lights?
Good deal.
Well, we've been here before for this type of thing. My name's Ed. I'm with the WPCA, and I'm part of the Town of East Windsor GIS team, which includes Lori Witten from Planning, Art Enderly from WPCA, Rand Stanley from the Department, Joe and Len from Public Works, Carol's the assessor, and Patty's the tax collector. We're here tonight. We're going to show you some static maps and explain how the town uses GIS. We're going to show you what they currently are able to do, and also we're going to show you a little bit about what they would like to do. And with that all in mind is, hopefully everybody sees the importance of it, how it applies to making the employees, the staff here be able to do their job better, how it allows the residents, or the clients as we sometimes call them, to be able to come in or from home, be able to access and have access and do some research on their own. We really appreciate this opportunity tonight. I mean, you're taking time out of your evenings to give us this chance, and we do appreciate that. On my way over here, I started thinking one of the things we didn't make And I know Len might get a chuckle out of this, but Mr. Sherman came in, and on my way over, I was hoping I would run into you, because just a couple years ago, Dick came down to the WPC offices and said, I hear this is the place to come to make a map. And what he needed is an access point for the emergency boat launch along the Connecticut River. So we sat down for 30 or 40 or 50 minutes, and we looked at Water Street. We made a call to the assessor because we thought in the town's GIS system that we had for parcel data that we owned the property. The town of East Windsor owned a piece underneath the bridge, the overpass. And we started up with emergency management. Since in the fire department, Jim's son was involved, and Len came in and did his work with engineering, and now that boat launch is built. I would say it was mostly pretty much a volunteer effort. So that's one way that GIS can work, is sometimes somebody has a question. How do we do this? And it grows from there. So we've been here before. We've done things with the North Road. And I'm curious, and excuse my back for a moment, but does everybody know exactly what a geographical information system is or does? The easy answer for me is it combines a database with mapping. So if you have any type of material, whether it's a photograph, whether it's video, audio, old written documents, if you can apply them to a spatially to a place on Earth, you can map it. And that's what we do a lot of, and that's what we're going to show you today. Components of GIS, we need people, data, analysis, hardware, software. Hopefully we're going to show you tonight what parts we have, what parts the town can acquire to do their job better. Functions of GIS, we capture, store, query, we perform analysis, display, and output. That would be a printed map. One of the earliest things we did with GIS is when they changed the districts for voting. And I see a lot of current or former selectmen here that were around during this time when we worked with the registrar of voters. We came to you as the town fathers and leaders, and we performed a map. It went before the legislature, and it was accepted. Prior to that, the town was split differently. It was joined more with Ellington. We also became busy here during special boards, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, North Road Sewer Project. And this, two people here had a lot to do with, Lori Witten and Art Enderly. So I think that's going to about do it for my talking, I hope. I'm going to turn around and we're going to let the other experts let you know what they're going to do.
Yep. So, for the record, I'm Lori Witten, town planner. So, very often, just about on a daily basis, numerous times, we get citizens coming into the town, to the planning office, saying, I'm interested in purchasing a piece of property, I want to see if it's developable. They know nothing about it except for the address, hopefully, or it's on such and such corner, it's, kitty corner from whatever. So we find out whatever the parcel is, but the first thing I do is pull up my GIS. It's like the first thing I do in the morning when I turn on my computer. Go right to GIS because I know I'm gonna need it. So I can basically tell them, so we're gonna use the cinema site as an example because I think everybody's very familiar with that at this point. So we pulled this up, and I can tell them, I can show them the aerial photograph. I can show them the assessor's card, and that has some parcel data on it, some assessed valuations and sales, building area. It also talks about acreage. So this is some information that I can give them right away. And the other thing I can do is determine the environmental constraints. I check for wetlands, the FEMA flood zones, whether or not it's in an aquifer protection area, whether or not it's got steep slopes or terrace escarpments, which are basically highly erodible slopes. So basically I've given, and then of course I check for zoning, which is a drop down there. So there I see that that site is Business 1 zone with this 3 residential lots right on the edge of it. So what I can't do is tell them what the topography is like. And so the topography is basically lines of equal elevation. Is it flat? Is it steep? How is it going to be graded? And I don't have that ability. But this is an example of what we can show if we had the ability. So it's going to pull up the 100-foot contours. So you're just seeing some lines show up. Then he's going to pull up the 50-foot contours. And then the 10?
20.
No, the 20. And then the 10-foot. And now the 2-foot. So what this is showing is, we all know this site. So right here, you see these lines all squished together. That means it's very, very steep. So an applicant can come in and say, wow, that's really steep there. And then it's kind of flat, and then there's another little steep slope here, and then it goes down. So this is information that every applicant needs to have. They would be required to show this type of topography on their site plan. So this way, they have some good information coming up front as they're just discovering the site. So what we want to do is give them as much information the first time they come in as we can. So, but this is information that is available, but we do not have it.
And so
The other information, go ahead.
the other part that Lori alluded to prior is GIS works with layers, and that's a big favorite of brands. We can layer multiple data sets over. We can put in flood zone. We can put in wetlands. So all of a sudden, it makes more sense. We can use an aerial photograph as well to better ideally suit our clients.
So the point of this is we do want to try to streamline and better assist the public. And unfortunately, we don't have all of these layers available to our current GIS system. Other layers that I would like to get would be the sewer service area. But unfortunately, I have to send the applicant down to the sewer department to figure out whether or not they have sewer available. But this is available on the WPCA GIS system, but it is not available on ours. And this is the big distinction, is that the WPCA has got an ongoing GIS system that they work themselves. But we have a consultant, and in order for us to get all of these layers on, we have to go to the consultant or through the consultant to get them. So sewer service area and whether or not they could actually hook up to an existing sewer, I don't have that information at my hands. I don't have the fire district where there's hydrants. The topography, as I said before, catch basins is something that Public Works Director Len Norton will be working on through the MS4, which is a state mandated thing. Again, we don't have these yet. That layer's never even been created. So the point really here is that we'd like to streamline things to the public. However, we don't have the means to do all of this. So the other thing is this also ties to view permit. Once we have all of these layers in the GIS and we pull up a view permit, which is our software for permitting. If you click on a parcel, you can, again, get all of these layers, but right now, we don't have access to them. This really is an economic development tool, and we're looking to try to get support to have this improved so we can better serve the public. And that's my word.
Thank you, Laura. So one of the other things is, when we were doing the North Road, we were eligible for our money, and it was USDA. So we went through, and the prior slide showed us we had done some preliminary engineering, showing basically 1, 2, 3, 4 different phases of North Road growth, which was part of your economic plan. Route 140 was the business corridor, and I'm going from memory because it was about 5 years ago. So because we had our WPCA, which is two members right there, Paul and Jim at the time, had authorized some engineering to be done, we ended up being, what was that magical phrase?
Shovel ready.
Shovel ready. So we had some things in the bank that we could go forward with, and it allowed us to achieve funding, and we actually ended up doing a lot of mapping, which set us up in a pretty good spot. Bringing us back to the North Road project, phase 1, we finished up, things went well, and Art, you can tell us a little bit of why did things go well as far as what was allowed for the funding,
Well,
and then what did that lead
that's
to?
that previous slide. I'm Art Indolin, the Superintendent of Water Pollution Control. I'm relatively new here. I came here in 2010, and I see a lot of the same faces when I first came here that are here this evening. And it's interesting because when I came on board, it was at the beginning of the North Road Sewer Project. And as part of that, you know, one of the things, Ed's a really modest guy, but, you know, Ed is the reason why we have GIS. Ed has a degree in GIS. Ed is a GIS master. When I came here, I realized how valuable GIS was. I realized I knew nothing about it, but I had a guy who lives for GIS. One of the reasons this project got off the ground with North Road was because we had everything ready. When they wanted information, Ed had it available for them. So I came in the very beginning of phase 1 for North Road, which is the yellow part. That was the ARA project, that was the shovel ready. When we finished that, we had some money left over because we had some $700,000 worth of sheeting that did not have to be put in. So talking to the WPCA, we wanted to put as much pipe in the ground as we could. That was our goal, was to get as much sewer as we could. So then we were able to do what we call phase 2. We were able to extend the sewer between 1,000 and 1,500 feet. We originally were going to stop at Mullen Road. We get down to Wells Road. Then USDA let us know the following year or two that they had some money, and that was just about the time that East Windsor census numbers were going to go over 10,000. So Lori got very involved and kind of rallied the troops, so to speak, and we get some USDA money now to do what we call phase 3. And you can see here where we went with phase 3, Wells Road, Rollicut Road. Well, as we typically do down WPCA, we're very, we really watch our money really, really good. So we ended up having a little over $130,000 left over. Well, our goal, again, was to, let's get as much pipe in the ground as we could. The original preliminary engineering report covered a wide swath, so it kind of opened this up. So I went to Ed, and I said, Ed, I want to get as much pipe in the ground as we can. Where do you think we could go? So Ed said, hey, we have Melrose Road, we have Yosky Road, let's take a look at what's there. So we started to, and there was Mullen Road. And so in the beginning, from where I sit, it looks like, well, there's a big swath of land out there. Ed was able to immediately dial into GIS, look at the parcels, and realize, in this case here with Mullen Road, we really only had 2 parcels that would benefit. We took a look at Yosky Road, and we said, okay, well, then maybe there's 4 parcels there, possibly a 5th. Then we took a look at Winkler Road. Now Winkler Road, I forget, I think there's probably 15 parcels out there might be more than that. So it became quite apparent to us that the best bang for our buck was to go to Winkler Road. Now, we had to use this money very quickly because if we did not, the USDA would just give it to some other grant recipient. And so we didn't want to let that money slip through our fingers. So the thing I'm getting at is because Ed had all this information at his fingertips. And we talk about GIS, and again, I'm extremely lucky to have this guy work for me because I go to him every day with GIS. I know how powerful GIS is. And we're lucky because our commission realizes that, and we see the benefits it can bring. And so I look at GIS like a filing cabinet. We all have filing cabinets, right? You take it, you open it up, and you just cram all the papers in there. Well, then it's really hard to go and find them. Well, GIS allows you to put them into folders and files, so it's very organized. Ed has all this stuff so organized, not only in his head, his brain is like a computer. So we were able immediately to turn around and provide this information either to ARA or to USDA. So we actually took 2 projects and made 4 projects out of them. And so I use GIS every single day. Mainly I use Ed, is what I do, because Ed is my GIS. But I see how powerful it is. And one of the things we mentioned here tonight is this is what we have at WPCA. It's not what the town has. We have it at WPCA. It's licensed to WPCA. It lives on the WPCA computer. It cannot currently be shared with the rest of the town because of licensing requirements. So there's a whole, and Ed could talk to you a little bit more about that. But Lori mentioned view permit. We all use view permit in this room. And the first thing that happens is I'll get something. Can you bring up something, Ed? Just to the map maybe. I'll get something from view permit, and the first thing I will take a look at, or if Lori says it's not a WPCA for a piece of property, and because Lori doesn't know whether or not they're connected to sewer. So the first thing I do is I bring up a sewer service area map, because East Windsor only is about 30% of the sewer service area, 70% is not. It's what we call sewer avoidance. Not a really good word, but the gray is the sewer avoidance, the white is sewer service. So I take a look at it, and I say, okay, this piece of property, we're just going to 107 Depot Street. Okay. Now, this map only exists currently at WPCA. So I'll say, Ed, do we have sewer at 107 Depot Street? He'll bring it up, and he can you highlight 107, Ed? Okay, so right there, it's highlighting right in it. So even a guy like me can understand where 107 Depot Street is. I see that there's sewer there. All those little green dots are manholes, and those are sewer lines. And so you would think that that property is connected to sewer. Ed goes over to the parcel card, and we find out that it's on well and septic. So it's in a sewer service area, but it's not currently connected to sewer. So at that point in time, I send it over to North Central District Health Department. So that's a real big thing there. They don't really know. So at that point in time, it kind of goes from my desk over to North Central District. Now, the other thing that I use GIS for is because Ed can hyperlink anything. GIS is so powerful, it's unbelievable, all that you can bring into this file cabinet. And here's an example of what we're going to call an as-built, basically. So from this as-built, I can take a look at it. What's very important for me from where I sit is seeing locations of sewer lines, gravity lines, or force mains. This is very important. If somebody has a question, where's the nearest sewer line, what's the pitch, what's the slope, can we connect to it, all that kind of information. I can have somebody at my desk, and we go and see Ed, and within 2 minutes, and we can print this out. We have the ability to print out a 2x3 map, print out something like this. So we're really giving really good service, as we call them, to the clients or to our customer base. The other thing I use GIS for is locations of manholes. And again, right now on a nice day like today, the manholes are all uncovered. We get a foot of snow out there and we have a sewer backup, you can't find these manholes. These manholes don't always exist in the street. Sometimes they're out in the right-of-way. Sometimes they're on one side of the road, the other side of the road, which was very important when we're looking at, can you bring up, say, Route 5 Ed? Where we have parallel lines because somebody will want to connect and that they have to cross a state road. So this is all the kind of information that when we have somebody come down to WPCA, we're able to very quickly give them a packet of information so they leave with more answers and less questions. And it happens as quickly as what you're seeing Ed do right here. So again, you can see there we have sewer lines on one side, then it crosses to the other side. So it's very important because somebody says, well, I know there's sewer down here, but what side is it on? How does it affect me? Can I get to it? Can I get across the state road? So what I'm going through is just typically the things that I use GIS for each and every day. The other thing is direction or flow of the sewage. Sometimes sewage will flow in two opposite directions. We have dead ends where, and you can see here, where it's kind of hard to see the lines, but I can see them from where I'm at, where sewage will flow one way, then it'll flow another way. And there's a prime example right there. So that's very valuable to us, so that if somebody wants to connect, we know, is it to the east, the west, the north, or the south? Okay, the other thing that I use it for quite often is viewing as-built and record drawings. And I remember back in 2011, I had not been here very long. We came before the Board of Finance at the time to ask to transfer some money to use to digitize some of our old blueprints because they were falling apart in our fingers. So we got them digitized, and so we no longer had to work on paper records, but we had this. And from that, I can look at the condition of the manholes, the material that the pipe is made out of. Some of these go back to the 40s, Ed? Yeah, so they were getting very, very brittle. And so now I have it at the touch of my fingers. I mean, this is the age of information technology, but if you don't know where the information is or how to access it, it doesn't really do you any good. But we have all, and I keep saying we, because we have this at WPCA. I would love to see the rest of the town have this, because I see how it really benefits me. And a couple other things we talked about. We've done a lot of sewer line video. We've got about 35 miles of sewers here at East Windsor. In the past 7 years, we've televised about 20% or 7 miles of that. Got a long ways to go, but here's an example of what we can do. Now, this is all hyperlinked through GIS. So here we go. We're videoing a sanitary sewer line. We can take a look at the joints. We can take a look at the pipe material. We can take a look. This gives us a baseline. So if we go back a couple of years from now, we can see, is it any worse? Since this time, we have purchased our own little push camera. It's not nearly as nice as this, but we go out, we can push it through the line, and we can make video, we can hyperlink it, we can put it into the GIS system. So it's one more tool in our toolbox, and it paid for itself within 6 months of us buying it, because we have people come in and say, hey, do you know if we have a lateral out here? Rather than bringing in a contractor, myself and one of our folks has been trained, and there's a team of 3 of us, we go out there, and we'll push a camera through, and this is exactly what we're looking for. Is there a connection? Is there a capped Y? Is there a future connection, condition of the pipe? This stuff is absolutely priceless. Because in my world, it's out of sight and it's out of mind. And so we really need that. Over here on the left, there we go, that's what we're looking for right there. There's a capped tap right there. So if somebody wanted to connect, they would know that there's a connection right there for them to tie into. And so we also use GIS to review the history of the work done, sewage backups, as I said, the infrastructure, so I can plan to look at, there's a lot of old sewer lines here in East Windsor, so, you know, it gets very expensive to replace them, so we get to look at the conditional assessment from the inside out. And so, I can't say enough about GIS. I mean, I'm incredibly lucky to have a guy like Ed that works with me, but I'm also really lucky because I don't think, I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but I see the good people that East Windsor has working here, because I get to work with all of them, and I see how they work really hard, and I know this saves me so much time. And when people come into our office, I mean, they don't always leave happy, but they leave with answers. We give them maps, and, you know, I think that's the value of being a public servant. That's what we get to do for people. It's part of my job. And so I really would love to see the rest of the town be able to access what we have right here. I think, you know, we talked about communication and service and giving people value for their dollar. I don't think you get any better value than this.
So that's one of the things you heard Art mention. We have we're running ArcMap, which is basically an application on the computer. The town's running something that's more cloud-based, and it's hosted at most likely New Geographical. And they do a really good job. They're our consultants as well, so we've used them in the past. What the goal is of this meeting and what's going to have to happen funding-wise is at some point the layers and the applications that the WPCA can do need to marry up with what the town has, and then you can have a really, really big, happy, robust program that's going to serve the clients really well. So you heard from planning, right? You heard from WPCA, Len Norton, and Joe are Public Works. So you guys have used, you know, mapping and GIS in the past as well. A couple things we did when you do chip sealing. What we've done is we made this available on the town website, and granted this was back in 2012. It was also put in the reminder. It alerted the residents, where is chip sealing going to take place? People can say, hip hip hooray, my road, my street is going to get a new cover on it. Or they can say, I'm going to avoid those streets for a week or so. Lenny also, let me go back to it, but you did a sidewalk project, and for your contractors, we pieced together, I'm not going to blow it up, but basically it was just a big 2x3 map with the project space. Do you want to kind of add on to some of that, what the things you've done?
Well, that was down here in the center of Broadbrook. It's say for a simple project like a sidewalk, you don't have to go out and do a lot of design plans or what have you. They just need to know how far they're going and what the location is. So that saves a lot of time and a lot of money and effort. I use the GIS to, I'll go pick out certain spots. If somebody calls complaining about a tree that they believe is dead, I'll go to that location, I'll plot out a copy of the map and give it to my foreman to go out and take a look at the tree. We use it to give to our subcontractors if we have some topo that needs to be done. I plot out a little picture and they go out and they topo between a couple of areas so I can design a drainage system, and they'll locate the catch basins. The catch basins are somewhat visible on the plans, but we need to get a layer on the GIS that actually shows where they are, because they're not real visible. So it's a good tool for us to just know where we're going to do certain projects, and especially being able to highlight things like this where you can really save some time and money.
Likewise, our WPCA board had asked us, what they wanted to know is all the properties in town that were on the sewer line, basically in the sewer service area, with a sewer in front of their home or property, with a dwelling on the property, yet they weren't connected to the sewer. So either Art or Paul, if either of you would like to.
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing I'll add is that, this really has become an issue recently with the possibility of the casino coming here. I received a lot of phone calls from a lot of different people about, do we have capacity at the plant? And so when Ed had done this a few years back, we took a look at all the properties that had a sewer line in front of their house that weren't currently connected. Because the last thing we want to do is to give up available capacity to somebody else, and we have people that could possibly use that. And so that became very, very valuable when the casino issue came up and we were getting phone calls, what's your capacity? And again, our plant is 2.5 million gallons a day. We really only see about 40% of that. So we're less than half the capacity. So going back to this here, I think we figured it was about 140 properties, Ed, that that was just properties with dwellings on them. So it gave us a really good read on, okay, if we were to get a lot of development here in East Windsor, do we have the capacity for that? So it gave us a really, really good baseline. And then just moving forward, I mentioned the casino. When Calamar is a property that's going in on Route 5, on North Road. When they first came to speak to us, we get the phone calls, and the nice thing is, they came down to meet with us. We had video, we had televised a cross-country run. We were able to tell them within 5 minutes, you've got 2 possible connections here, this way or this way. So, I've been doing this a long time. My experience working with a lot of developers, when they can come into your office and they can walk out of there with a map, some plans, and say, you know what, boy, that makes their life a whole lot easier. And it's always time and money. I heard things that Rand mentioned, growing the grand list and development, and so regardless how you feel about that, whatever, when people come into your office, you want to be able to give them real valid information that they can take to the bank. And so, Paul, I don't know if you want to talk anything about that?
Well, there was another consideration that we wanted this for, and that is, should we be pursuing the idea of telling people, connect to the sewer because it's in front of your house? Well, first we got to find out what kind of scope we're talking about. So all this data becomes available, you can make judgment calls with factual information, not speculation. That is a key item. When you start making decisions based on what you think, being right is very difficult. It's not worth it. You're gonna be wrong most of the time. When you come up with facts, you can decide things and say, yep, if we do this, this is the result, because we know what it is. And the other thing, that once we know how many properties are out there, we have to make sure that that capacity stays available at the plant. They're current residents. You can't let somebody else take that capacity away. They're entitled to it, whether they connect today or 10 years from now. They paid for that plant. They're entitled to have that available.
Thank you, Paul. Patty, we're going to go with you and Carol next. So normally somebody will call you with some questions.
Yeah, actually, what typically happens in my office is I'll get someone who will come in and say, how much are the taxes on that lot that's over on the corner of, Wells and Rolls? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So first thing I do is I look up GIS, and I'll get the map there, and I'm like, are you talking about this one? And that's what, we identify it, and then I get to the actual aerial so that I can confirm it with them. Then they start asking questions, because I'll pull off the unique ID, I'll tell them the taxes, and then they start asking more questions, which are more Carol's department as to.
So she pans them off.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's a good team effort. We basically give them the information that we need, but we're limited because a lot of the information that we need is down at WPCA. So we give them as much as we can. Most people are very amazed by the fact that you can pull up a map and bring in these layers that we can bring in to show them that, yeah, their line is here, and that tree line and that fence is there, and gee, that tree is not on my property. So that's when they go over too. And I give them a map, and they go on their merry way. They apply to planning and zoning for a deck extension or a shed. They work with maps that we create. We don't send them out without knowing something. This is a sketch that you can use. You can go to planning and zoning and show where you want to put the shed, and they will tell you whether or not it's the right area or not. So they walk away fully informed as to what they can or cannot do. And if we can't give it to them, then we send them to North Central Health, or we send them to Water Pollution Control. These tools here, ever since I've been here, I would say this has saved me more time than anyone will ever know. Revaluation. We are going to be able to pinpoint where the values are based on dollars of sales. It's within the system. It's there. So that's just one highlight.
And I use it even further when I have delinquencies and I'm gathering information from my attorney. I take it and I take a picture of the house, I take the field card, I take the abutters. We want to know the marketability of it so that if we're going to sell it, and I also I want to know if there's sewers there, because I collect anything and everything I possibly can for that property. But I can't get the sewer information. I have to then email Laura, I'll call over there and say, my attorney needs this information because we're going to collect absolutely everything. There's a disjoint right there. So I can't always collect everything that's possible if I'm in a rush. So I need, that sewer information would be good to know. Yes, there is sewer, and send the information over to the attorney. So we need to have the continuity, the flow, in order to better serve the people of East Windsor. Okay?
Thank you, ladies. Rand Stanley.
Thank you. I'm not going to stand up because I don't think Patty wants to look at the back of my head. That's why I'm slouching back.
The shine is killing us.
And for this I come
Only
to
one
work.
French woman can say that.
For this I come to work every day, right? We talked about this tonight, and I've got a little scripted thing, and I'm just going to step back for a moment. This is truly in my opinion, the most important economic tool we can have to move this community forward. It provides us with a way to provide everybody with their information. We don't own this information. It belongs to every one of our residents and every one of our taxpayers, okay? We manage their systems for them. That's what we get paid to do. And this is part of that management tool for us to work with. Singularly, in the building department, you'd be amazed how many people come into our department, they do not know what the address is. They don't know if, I've had property owners that don't know if the property they own is a 1, 2, or 3 family dwelling. They don't know if they have a single family dwelling that's in a commercial or an industrial zone. This information allows us, when they walk into our office, there again, to give them that information, often the assessor's sheets, often the assessor's cards, and it gives us a visual so we know that we are able to give them the proper information. We haven't begun to scratch the surface with this type of a system yet, but we do need to move this football forward. And we understand the stresses as team members in this community that we're faced with. We see it, we live it, and as we saw Tuesday when the budget didn't pass, in the same sense, this tool can save and make this community money through the growth of our grand list, as an economic development tool, and as a means for us to easily identify and disseminate the information that people come to us and expect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Frank Stanley, 2017.
I was just gonna
You
say,
forgot to
so
grab the top, Julie.
what we'd love to see is that all of this information be integrated on the town system. And at that point, if everything is on the town system, then somebody can sit in their living room, in their bathrobe, and literally look up everything that we showed you tonight. And so then they have less questions when they come in, and then we're able to give them just the details of the exact things that they need. And it makes their lives so much easier. It makes their purchase of the property easier. It makes their decisions easier. And that's where the economic development really comes in.
So Laura, they wouldn't come in with questions necessarily, but for confirmation.
Yeah, confirmation and just, how do I fill out the form? Let's make an application. So,
And once we've tied this into view permit, once we've been able to establish the layers of this data that they need, okay, and we've tied this into view permit, we've actually completed that circle so that it's going to make their process and their information gathering and their permitting truly streamlined.
I guess the magic question is, how much?
We knew you were going to ask.
So each layer, each task is a separate fee. I think that Carol and I have been, for some reason, the GIS coordinating team.
I think it's been since prior to 2000 when we started. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But New England Geo has been phenomenal to work with. Early on, New England Geo would supply maps that we needed. Periodically, we just called them up and they would give us a cost, and because they were working with us, and they would produce them. Now, of course, we have Ed, and his services have been phenomenal throughout. But New England Geo continues to maintain our system. If a transfer occurs and a split happens, we end up supplying the maps through the town clerk's office, which are digitized. They get a download. They then process that through their system. We get the result online, and we're able to match it up to our accounts. As a process with this reevaluation, we will be getting what they call a mismatched file. Because in the process of human involvement, we end up with mismatched files. No account for a lot, or we have an account, but we don't have a lot that matches. So we take my CAMA system, we take the mapping system, put them together, and find the problems and fix them before the reval is complete.
Yeah,
So,
But that's all part of the maintenance that
right.
Lori's talking
So,
about.
but Carol and I are the ones that prepare the CIP budget request every year. And we started out asking for $15,000 a year, and we've upped it to 25, and sometimes we get 15, sometimes we've had nothing. So just to give you an example, the GIS parcel data maintenance is $8,000 per year.
And that's my function.
Yeah. For the MS4 project that is state mandated for the Public Works Department to do is anywhere between $20,000 and $60,000 depending on how much we do in-house. So we're not even coming close to meeting the needs of what we need to get out of the system by getting $15,000 or $20,000 a year. I mean, that means if we get $15,000 a year, then we're going to be saving up for 2 or 3 years just to do one project.
Right. And unfortunately, in the process of budgets and trying to keep everything in line and trying to meet legal debts, we end up losing in the long run. It gets pulled because of whatever. So we do have to keep our eyes open on that.
So, you know, I mean, this is New England Geo's proposal for all the different tasks that we've asked for, and it's an ongoing thing, and he updates it every few years, and at our request. You know, the last big funding we did was, it probably cost a little under $10,000 to get all of our GeoCD mapping done. So, and that was certainly needed, required, and it was very much well-deserved for the town. But again, that was, you know, just one task, and there's so many tasks that we would like to do, and just in order for us to get the WPCA data on is significant. To get the topography on there would be significant. So we're just trying to relay that this is a really good thing that we really believe in, that we believe that everybody can use it, and that if it's accessible to people off-site, it's even more valuable. And we just want people to think, well, maybe we need to fund this a little bit more. We're hoping that you find the value in it.
Okay.
Makes everybody's lives easier.
I guess that wraps it up, Alice.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, I think so.
The only thing
I appreciate all of your attention.
Yeah, it's right on the front page, home page of our website. There's a icon that says GIS, and I went on there and found my house, put in your street address and stuff. So it is
Very
accessible.
simple. You can do all sorts of analyses, and we have one there that was actually all the farmland in this town, and that we do have, and that was done when we got the Ag Viability Grant. So now you know where all the prime farmland soils are, and where all the farms that are active and inactive are. Of course, it hasn't been updated in many, many years, but it's a good guideline for that. So, I mean, you can do queries and all sorts of analysis.
Okay, so I guess that wraps it up.
Yep.
We'll stay and have some food and talk.
Same time next year?
Same time next year.
Thank you all.
Why don't you walk? My one is already.
Listen, you're not driving the camera.
I know you did. The tree line. I like that barbed wire line.
That's quite
I would think. It keeps growing.
And I know what those we get.
None of this is
Well, maintenance is over.
And I wanted to
Pay-
do you have
Yeah, our GIS. So our
to the universe?
but this is
Anybody? Do you have any papers? You can just put your name and phone
Can I get some tickets?
Absolutely. How many would you like?
So do I just fill out